What's up, everybody? We back with another video, and in this video, we're gonna be talking about the global race for power. Now, I know you all have seen the headlines. They take the Venezuelan president Maduro. They're talking about Greenland, but what does that all really means, and how does that affect me and you? Now, let me just state my opinion and how I see this and why these things are happening. You have to understand that the world is breaking up and the supply chains of the world are breaking up. Now, how did we get here? Well, it's a whole bunch of things that we can point to, but I say that it's three main things. The first one being that once COVID happened, the whole entire world seeing how dependent we were on China, and they seen that that was a problem. You couldn't get medicine, you couldn't get certain foods, you couldn't get certain chemicals, and yet alone trying to get parts for cars, robotics. That's how you have the CHIP Act that comes in place during the Biden administration. You couldn't get any chips. And I work inside the trucking industry and we get new trucks every year. And I remember around that time, we couldn't get no new trucks. They were built by Freightliner, but we were missing these chips that come all the way from China. So you had the CHIP Act, and then you had companies like Taiwan Semiconductor move inside the United States. China controlled 100% of the chip making. Then you had the U.S. invest in its own companies like Intel. Also, the second reason is that once the Ukraine and Russian war broke out and the United States and Europe seized Russia's assets, the rest of the world got to looking like, hold up. If they can do that to one of the top three superpowers, what does that mean for us? If they could just take all those treasuries and all that oil, how do we stand a chance? So you already had central bank gold buying, and that just put fuel on the fire. And now you have what you have today. Central banks around the world are buying gold at a record pace. Also, if you look, the treasuries used to represent 60% of the world's reserve. Now it only represents 40%. Gold has replaced it at 50%. And that's big. Now, you got all these countries in this AI military race. And the United States is known as the world's global reserve currency, world superpower, and you have the new power of China trying to overtake them, and the U.S. is not going down without a fight. So all this Venezuela and Greenland stuff, yes, they do have resources, but that's not the main reason. It is to secure the borders of the United States. If you look at Venezuela, it sits in South America. They can invade from the south. Maduro was in cahoots with China, Russia. He was on the wrong side of the fence to be the president on this side of the hemisphere, on this hemisphere. So the Trump administration didn't like that. I'm not saying I agree with how it was done, but I can see why they did it. In Greenland, it sits right above Canada, right below Russia. On the other side is China. So if they get access to Greenland, they can basically walk into the Americas. Now, we're going to watch three videos from Scott Bessent, Rubio, and Trump talking about these incidents. Now, knows most people want to make it this whole conspiracy theory, but it's really very simple. So we're gonna watch these three videos.
A country when in fact Denmark and Greenland have said they are not interested.
Well,
very strong view on Western Hemispheric security and believes that the U.S. should not outsource our national security. He believes that Greenland is essential for the Golden Dome missile shield. And he also, the president, as usual, it's the move after the move that as part of NATO, I think the president is worried that if there were an incursion into Greenland, the U.S. would be called upon to defend Greenland. Greenland's becoming more and more attractive for foreign conquest, and he very strongly believes that it must be part of the United States to prevent a conflict rather than getting the U.S. engaged exposed into a hot conflict.
So Greenland is not expected to be able to have the capacity to stop any potential missiles that could hit the United States. In other words, Greenland without U.S. ownership makes the United States vulnerable. Is that the president's main complaint?
Well, I think it's that, and that the U.S., there's the opportunity for the U.S. to become embroiled ex post into a kinetic war if another country moved in on Greenland, and no country is going to assert control of Greenland if the U.S. controls Greenland.
So basically, he just told you it's a national security threat, and they want to build this Golden Dome to be able to deflect missiles. And also, they feel like if they don't take control over Greenland, then they might get into a nuclear war if somebody else got it, because I guess they feel empowered and they feel like they got the United States. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do see how that allowing someone to get control of Greenland could possibly be a threat to the United States because they can walk right in. So now we're going to watch President Trump talk about the Greenland situation, and then also after that, we're going to get into Maduro talking about the Venezuela thing.
Greenland is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and undeveloped territory, sitting undefended in a key strategic location between the United States, Russia, and China. That's exactly where it is, right smack in the middle.
See, I just told you, it sits right in the strategic location, and it's just not me agreeing with Trump, guys. It's just if you look at a map, you can see exactly where Greenland sits.
It wasn't important nearly when we gave it back. When we gave it back, it wasn't the same as it is now. It's not important for any other reason, everyone talks about the minerals. There's so many places. There's so rare earth. No such thing as rare earth. There's rare processing, but there's so much rare earth. And to get to this rare earth, you got to go through hundreds of feet of ice. That's not the reason we need it. We need it for...
That's pretty funny. He said there's no such thing as rare earths, it's rare processing. As you know, the United States has a deal with China because China processes something outrageous, like almost 100% of all the rare earths are processed in China. And that's funny that he said it's now no rare earths, but rare processing. And also to everybody talking about that they taking over Greenland because the ice is melting and they want all the resources, yada, yada, yada. Man, it's plenty of countries with resources that we can get now. Like you see people go over to Africa and control those resources all the time. I'm not saying that's what we should do, but it's plenty of resources. And also, if you didn't know, the United States has plenty of oil, like so much oil. So the stuff about Venezuelan oil is kind of nonsense. Yeah, they're going to take over the oil industry, but that was a lot of the corruption. So all this going to Greenland because they got all this resources. True, they do have resources, and if the United States get there, they will probably tap into some of those resources. But again, the point is consistent. It is a national defense type of problem. So that's Trump on that.
But how does
does the United States intend to secure the oil fields? Won't that take U.S. troops?
Well, ultimately, this is not about securing the oil fields. This is about ensuring that no sanctioned oil can come in and out until they make changes to the governance of that entire industry. Because right now, that industry is non-existent in the traditional way. These oil fields basically are pirate operations. People literally steal the oil from the ground. That's how they hold this regime together. A handful of cronies benefit from this oil, specific oil wells. They're producing at like 18% capacity because the equipment is all decrepit, and they basically pocket the money to their benefit. They sell the oil at a discount in global markets, 40 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar, but all that money goes to them. Those oil fields have not benefited the people of Venezuela in over a decade, but they have made multi-millionaires, billionaires, out of just a handful of people, and that's what's held this regime together. That's what needs to be addressed. The way to address it to the benefit of the Venezuelan people is to get private companies that are not from Iran or somewhere else to go in, invest in the equipment that hasn't been invested in 20 years because none of the profits that have been made from the oil have been reinvested. It's all been stolen. And that's going to take outside companies that come in and know how to do that.
Okay, once again, they securing that so nobody else can come in and get it. No China, no Iran, none of that thing. Now let me just type in this. And this is not me siding with them. It's just stating the facts. We gotta learn how to stop being so emotional or opinion based and just look at the facts. Just look at the facts for what they are. How long would it take? To get oil from Venezuela. Let's just see what the Google search. Again, rebuilding Venezuela's neglected oil infrastructure to significant increased output approaching 3 million barrels a day is estimated to take at least a decade. Look at that, at least a decade. Requires hundreds of billions in investment, while smaller immediate increase to 300 to 500,000 barrels per day might be possible within 18 months to 3 years if sanctions are lifted, restoring full production capacity in its long-term endeavor. So, yeah, guys, like, it's not just about the oil. They wanted a new regime in place. And yes, they're going to get some oil, but it's going to take a lot of money to get that done. So what does that mean for the average person? Well, if the world is breaking up and on the United States side, they're saying that, hey, if you come build your company here, then you won't have to worry about those tariffs. So I think it's a smart decision. This is not financial advice, but wouldn't it be kind of smart to invest in companies that are building in the United States? Look at, since TSM has built their facility in Phoenix, look at their stock price. They make all the fobs for all these chips. There's no getting around TSM. Nvidia has switched over. Apple has switched over. Not saying go out and buy those companies, but I'm just saying to get inside the mind frame of if the U.S. says they want to remanufacture, I think it'd be a smart idea to look at those companies who are remanufacturing here in the United States and companies that are going to be a part of this gigantic tech boom. Second, I think it would be smart because the government wants scarcity. They want these natural resources. They want these rare earths. That's why they're making all these deals, creating sanctions and restrictions on supply chains. I think it would kind of be smart to own scarcity. Now, gold and silver have recently made a down move, and we got the new Fed chair coming in, and we'll talk about that later, but it seems like he wants to reinstall trust inside the United States Treasury system and United States economy and the United States dollar ultimately. Now, fiat is the same old thing. They're gonna print money, but it may just be at a slower pace. So, not saying that the debasement trade is off, but also it might have slowed down the pace. But you have to remember, a lot of these other countries don't want to be dependent on the United States. I mean, unless this new Fed chair forces their hands or reshapes this economy, then maybe it goes back to how the system was. But look at things that are changing. The banking industry is changing. You want to be invested in these type of things. So the governments, politicians, they're gonna give us their playbook. It's up to us not to get emotional, to be smart, break down what they are actually saying, what are their plans, what are they invested in, and follow their paper trail. Because I guarantee you one thing, we can call them PhDs and they don't know anything about money, but they set the policies, they set regulations, and all of us, including businesses, have to follow these regulations. So I think it would be smart to own some of these tech companies that are coming back, even in emerging markets, because everybody's breaking up and everybody wants to be self reliant. And also, I think it would be smart to own scarcity. You probably won't get any huge parabolic moves in these commodities like gold, silver, and Bitcoin. But ultimately, we're going to get a new administration in. And if it's not the Republican Party, then we already know the Democrats' playbook. Maybe they switch it up a little bit. But if it goes back to the Biden where they left off, then inflation is going to take right back off. Assets are going to inflate. We make a whole bunch of money. So ultimately, what I'm saying is this: the game never changes. The game of money never changes. So if this is your first time to this channel, so like this video, subscribe to the channel, go check out the Game of Money playlist. The first video is going to break down what is money, because most of us think that it's just a dollar. But if you watch that video, you'll see that we are so far from what the Constitution stated was money and what money actually is. So watch that video. The second video is going to show you why you can't save dollars, because even if inflation is down to their 2% target, over years and years, that's going to compound tremendously and you're going to lose a whole lot of purchasing power. So the second video is breaking down why you can't save dollars. The third video is a formula showing you how to start from zero, good credit, bad credit, wherever you at, how to get started in investing. And the last video, the fourth video, is talking about picking your style of investing, because everybody always asks, how do I make money? And I give them the question and say, how do you want to make money? That's the better question, because there's multiple ways to make money. Not saying different assets or different asset classes, but the way you make your money. You have capital gains, you have preserve and hedge, you have cash flow. What type of investor? What is your style of investing? You get what I'm saying? So yeah, so ultimately block out the noise and try to figure out how you can capitalize. If inflation is going to go down and we're going to go into deflation and we're headed towards this AI boom, I think it'd kind of be smart to own AI companies. The winners, though. Not any company just has AI in their name. No, the winners. Look at the balance sheets. Look at the technology and see who's actually getting ahead and who's just blowing a whole bunch of money. Because a lot of these companies have been spending billions of dollars and haven't made a dime back yet. And that's sad, because a lot of people who just was buying the name because they seen it on TV are going to lose a shit ton of money. I'm sorry to say it, but you're gonna lose. It's about being smart. It's about blocking out all the nonsense and those clickbaiters on YouTube who just say, "Oh, this one is going to the moon." Okay, that's why I sold Bitcoin before the drawdown. That's why I took profit on gold and silver before last Friday. You gotta look out for you, and I'm trying my best to give you guys the truth and make it simple for you. Now, if we rotate out of gold and silver, the inflation hedges, and we're going to go into deflation, and the administration wants this pro-growth thing. So what does that mean? Accelerate technology, AI, get invested. If we're going to go into deflation, real estate should come down. It might be a great time to buy real estate. You're not switching the game, you're just switching the asset class. That's what it's all about. So I promise to be more consistent this year. So I'm gonna be right back tomorrow with another video. Thank you.